Yeah, so you know what I'm about, and like you said, I'm really wanting to create something at this point to carry the message. And I when I felt into um, kind of who the first type of person I would want to create something for was, what came up was what you saw in my post, and that's where I thought of you. And it might be a little interesting in a special way with you, because you may end up answering my questions from, like I said, maybe from who you were when you were in that, like, oh my God, I'm burned out, I da 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 situation, and or where you're at now with these topics. And I'd love any and all of that,
Yeah.
because obviously what's helped you to move out of that burnout place and in any way would help other people as well. Um, so yeah, I can't really create something that would be helpful without talking to people
Yes.
who might know, right? So yeah, so I have some basic, some questions to get us going on conversation, and we'll just go from there. How's that sound?
Hmm.
Good. So I think following you on social media, I probably have a pretty good sense of your basic life situation right now. So if there's anything I you would want me to know that I can't see on social media, you could say that. But so rather than asking you about your life situation, I'll just say, how are you doing inside of your life situation right now, in terms of your energy, your peace of mind, and your like sense of fulfillment. And again, I'm kind of asking you to answer either or both of what it was like when you weren't in such a great spot, and or where you're at now.
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
interesting because I feel like I will organically answer from where I was, but also where I am now because like I
Perfect.
shared in online, I'm my mom's primary caregiver. And so that has really shifted things for me because before um, I would spend less time taking care of my mom. So I had more time to focus on my business. And I'm naturally, as you know, I'm naturally a go getter. I can make things happen, but being my mom's caregiver has really become the priority. And so that has really shifted how I plan my days, but also um, caregiving for my mom has shown me how to deepen my sense of self-preservation for myself, my own
Mm,
energy, because it's incredibly demanding physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. So I'd say this role has really, in the beginning, was incredibly hard because I've been doing this for years. I found a rhythm now, but what has challenged me is how do I, as being a introvert, an empath, highly sensitive, I can feel so deeply like you. So in the beginning, what was hard for me is finding the boundary, like how much do I give? Because I love my mom, right? So I recognize that I was over giving, right? Because I was just trying to, in a way, it felt like I was trying to save her, right? So, but I realized that sacrificing myself, my well-being, my energy is not of service to myself or to my mom, and that I identified, well, through God's help. He showed me like where all these patterns came from, of, like sacrificing myself. I feel like that's like an old pattern, like not only in my family but in my ancestral line, just being Asian. I just think
mhm.
being a woman, like I just feel like this oppressive belief that you have to sacrifice yourself in order to show love. I
Mhm.
really had to face that and say, no, I can't, like put aside the guilt and go, okay, I have to find a way to care for her while caring for me equally.
Mhm. Yes,
And that
exactly.
also applies like in business. How do I help someone from a place of power, not, oh, I can empathize how things are hard for you. So let me also lower my energy and like overgive because I understand. on a deep empathetic level. And what God has shown me over the past years, especially this past year, is like what is most beneficial to myself and who I'm caring for or supporting is for me to hold my place of power for me
Mhm,
first,
mhm,
for me first.
mhm.
And from that place, allowing that person, my mom or whoever, to rise up within themselves. Not, I'm not being codependent, like, oh, I understand. It's more like I'm holding my energy and my power. And in that embodiment, my hope is that will elicit and activate in you for you to hold your place of power and your energy for you. And then we
Exactly.
can co-create together. Like with my mom, like I always inspire her, mm, to find that peace and that power within herself, not, oh, you're doing that wrong. That's how I recognized in the beginning, I'd be so frustrated and I'd like be so like, I would try not to, but my frustration would come out because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But now I realize like she's doing the best that she can. So the best way to do that is to make her feel safe and nurture her own process, nurture her own growth, nurture her own pace, even if my pace is different. I have to meet her where she is.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, how else can she support herself mentally, spiritually, physically if she feels subconsciously she's being shamed for doing it wrong, right?
Right.
Which I completely understand. I think the game changer for me is you just have to create that safe space within yourself and be gentle with yourself every step of the way. No matter how small or how big your step is, it's like this constant state of encouragement, this turtle way, just being steady, slow and
Mhm.
steady. No matter how fast you see other people moving, it's like, hey, God made me this way for a reason, and I have to honor that, or else I'll be just constantly chasing, looking at what other people are doing and making myself feel bad for not being enough. And so
Mhm.
the whole
And
point is
draining your energy in the process.
exactly. So it's
Yeah.
the goal is for you to continually pour into yourself, feel full, allow yourself, however that looks for you. And then from that place of power, then you can walk alongside someone to
Mm.
support them.
Right, right. And empower them to do all they can for themselves, like
Right. With their
whatever
own
that is.
discernment. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
their own resources. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks
And
like.
you're co-creating together. If they need help, then they can communicate that and then you can offer
Right.
help. But it's not like you're burdening yourself by carrying them. It's more like I'm going to walk with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And what if you found that, and again, past or current situation, what have you found? You mentioned like being gentle with yourself and things like that. What have you found to be the most helpful in your circumstances that you just described to keep that filled up feeling? What have you found for the
Yeah.
most helpful to keep
Yeah.
your
So
power?
on a big picture level, I always pray and I always communicate with God, whether that be just in my quiet reflection time. This is like starting off the day throughout the day. It's just I'm always keep my heart open to receive any downloads that come through. Um, and I also make time as much as I can to prioritize my joy, and that changes, week to week or whatever. But I really try to, when I'm with my mom, I'm with her like 4 days out of the week. Then my brother takes 3.
Okay.
So I try to like take an hour away to just, window shop or go buy something good to eat or go to the park or something like that, just so I feel connected to myself. If I have, when I'm here at home, sometimes I don't get to do it as much, but I love to vintage shop. So I'll go, and it's not even so much about the buying, it's about creating the sacred space to actually be with myself and be like, oh my God, this,
Mhm.
I feel that energy like coming through.
Right.
And so, and interestingly enough, like posting regularly, I would post regularly before my life situation changed, but what's interesting now is when I'm sharing, of course, to be in service, but I'm sharing like photos and heartfelt comments. Um, yes, to be in service, but also for me to like attune to my heart, attune to my spirit, and actively express that from the inside out.
Mm.
Like
So
when
it's
you
become part of your joy practice as well.
Oh, absolutely. When I
Awesome.
share those photos of when Dad takes photos of me and stuff, like those photos were not like done when I had a ton of time. It was literally I have a little bit of time and I'm going to make this happen within a day or two. And then so that process itself was joyful and sacred, but the actual posting and write taking time to write it is like honestly like those times I just like really saved my soul like over the past 3 years.
Mhm.
Really, because it's like I was able to continue to see myself, feel myself, even though 80% of my life was demanding I care for another human.
Mhm.
And that's really hard because my life was not like that before. I would care for other people. It's maybe more like 70 me, 30 other people, you know.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
now it's flipped. So I'm just like, how do I maintain my sense of self without um sacrificing this role that God has placed me in, you know? And I know
Mhm.
God doesn't want me to sacrifice who I am. So how do I find that inner fortitude? And I've actually found like deeper ways where I can recognize myself and my spirit without having to do the things. It's like God has actually taken away so many things that I had the habit of like, oh, I'm gonna go shop, I'm gonna go to the spa, I'm gonna go out to eat. All these things gave me so much joy. So I was like, of course, that would keep me in my flow. But in this situation, it's like I can't do all of those things. So how do I maintain the core essence of that without
Mhm.
actually the physical, doing it physically, but
Right.
keeping it energetically? Ooh, I'm getting full body chills right now.
Me
That
too, baby.
that to me has really um opened up my whole system to be like, oh, so it's like it's not so, the physical act of doing things is cool. It's great. It's a blessing to do that. But it's
Mhm.
really about accessing that energy, that reserve, and then anything that you want to create. It's like you have to create it energetically first, and then put it out there, you know, in the world. But you're not dependent on I have to do this, or I have to look this way, or I have to do all these things that I thought I had to be and do and look like. And it's like God's like, no, you don't need all of that. Those are extra. Those are actually overflow reflections of who you are in your spirit, but
Mhm.
inside of that, it's always there. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, okay.
So those things aren't the source of it.
Right.
They actually are the expression of it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you can have different ways to express it in your
Yes.
current circumstance, like 15 minutes at the park can give
Yes.
you the same
Yes.
inner experience or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's actually helped heal a lot of my anxiety and just my nervous system before would be based on, oh, pushing my adrenaline. Like I do this, I push it. And now it's like, do I really want to do that? And if I do want to do that, how can I do it so it feels nourishing at the time and
Mhm.
not like I have to do it to check it off so I feel accomplished and then I feel good. You know what I mean? It's not like
Yeah.
that. It's more like, how do I actually be present throughout this whole process because I'm doing it for me? And I understand it's to like fill my cup for me. And
Mhm.
then whatever outcome happens, I'm not attached to that so much because I'm not doing it for the specific outcome. It's like I want to enjoy the expression, the experience for me first.
Mhm. Yeah, and having so much of it being given your current situation and the current demands on your time, um, having that go internal, so to speak, like that blessing, that gift means, you don't need to go expend all that energy going to all these other places to do it.
Yes,
It's already there, which it
yes,
was all along, but you
yes,
didn't realize.
yes,
And and then when at another time when you're able to do those things again out in the world, you'll do them more,
Mhm.
go out to eat or whatever, but it'll be from a different spot. It'll be even
Right,
more joyful because
right,
it'll be from this spot.
right,
Wow, that's so cool. And it really speaks to how our how our external circumstances, like I'm the caregiver for my mother full time 4 days a week, is a totally new circumstance. I mean, for a while now, but and it didn't mean I had to give all that up. It just meant how do I re-envision it? How do I
right, right.
reconnect with it? How do I connect with it differently in this new context?
Yes,
That's really amazing. And I was going to ask you a different question, but I'll ask you a follow-up one first. Um, when you were saying about learning to, preserve your energy in your current scenario, and not overgive, it feels like in a way you had that experience when you were in corporate that you left and developed your own business to heal from that, and then in a different way some of those same patterns were
yes,
coming out in your business and then in your caregiving, and now you've had like the next layer or the spiral staircase or something, the next level of being able to be like, okay, I can shed even more of that than, the next round of
yes,
shedding that, it feels like.
yes,
Is that
yes,
right?
yes. I feel like me identifying these different like patterns, it's like I'm learning to give myself grace and not shame myself like, oh, I have to deal with this again. It's more like it's a deeper layer.
Yeah.
And so what has helped me is to identify the root of why when I look back on my life, it's like, oh, the first half of my life, I turned 50 in October this year. So I'm like, the first half of my life, I'm like, oh, okay, I see
This
that.
past was 50 or
So,
next?
so
This
this,
next
this coming October,
coming. So
2026.
it's this year.
This year, yeah.
Awesome.
So this is a big year. I just feel like I've hit middle, I've hit the middle point of my life. So
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
yeah,
So as you hit your midlife, I didn't mean to interrupt.
yeah. So I feel like looking back at my life, what has helped me a lot, which was very painful at first, was to recognize like, why did I go through all these hardships, all these pains of overcompensating, overworking, over all this stuff. And at the
Over everything, over
yes,
giving, over.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
It was at the root. It was this deep sense of, again, this was passed down to me. It was modeled for me. Is this deep sense of unworthiness that I had to, in order for me to survive, because I didn't have a foundation of I feel worthy of my own love and care. I externalized everything. Well, it seems like I get a lot of love and attention, accolades, success, money if I externalize everything. So I'm going to pour all of that out for me to survive. And so it did help me to survive. But where this on the second season of my life, the second half, I feel like God is saying like now that you have built a stronger foundation of who you are outside of all of this external stuff, can you imagine what life is going to be like now that you can actually enjoy instead
More
of,
wisdoms.
yeah, I'm getting full body chills again.
Totally.
It's like, can you imagine not only how much enjoyment you'll have, fulfillment you'll have in living this life, but how much more you can impact other people's lives because it's no longer be based on a sense of uh these energetic attachments, this codependent patterns. It's not compensating for, oh, I need that to so I feel full. It's like, no, this next half is like, I am full regardless of what I'm doing on the outside, regardless of how I look. And from that fullness, from the overflow, I give because I want to, not because I have to,
Yeah.
because I want to. And
Yeah.
that's why I've been sharing posts about going slow.
Yeah.
Like, it's because for this first, I just feel like I look at winter, I mean, I look at nature and it's like, it's winter time. Like, why are we rushing and blah? It's like nothing in nature is like gung ho all year. You don't see flowers blooming all year. Why?
Right.
Why do we think we have to put that pressure? And so I understand some people, that's their rhythm, they're faster. But for me, I'm like, I know when God will put in my spirit to move, I have no problem moving. Like to execute, to do things, I don't have a problem with that. The bigger challenge for me has been like slow down and allow myself to receive the rest, allow myself to receive the clear discernment. This is a yes, this is a no. This is a yes, this is a no. Feel it, feel safe with those that discernment in my body. Like
Yeah.
that has been my greatest like teaching and lesson like God has been showing me like really really deepening this more of that feminine side of the receiving like what am I really receiving and not judging myself like oh you're being lazy or you're not doing enough or it's like okay I'm not getting clear guidance now so maybe I should rest you know what I mean it's like not
Right.
pushing like what is it God tell me I need to know it's like if I feel that anxiety maybe you should rest you know
Yeah.
what
Or
I mean? Like,
and waiting is a sacred act.
yes. Wait. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with waiting, but again,
Mhm.
it's like unlearning that pattern of go, go, go. But it's like, why am I go, go, going? It was because to slow down felt like I would be off path, and then I'd feel that deeper sense of unworthiness, right? I would have to
Exactly.
feel more of that unsettled energy. And God's like, no, being your mom's caregiver, you're gonna feel all of it because you have to. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, and it has made me in the quiet times, because 'cause I'd have to help my mom in the middle of the night several times. I have to get up, help her, and it's like, during the times where I try to go back to sleep, I would hear God the loudest. I'm like, "Oh, okay." It's because I'm so exhausted that my body's not trying to it's like I've let go so much that I was able to hear
Yeah.
clear discernment, like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, do this," or "Don't do this," or "I'm gonna
Yeah.
help you through this," and it's like, yeah.
And it sounds like all of that is based on an increasing, and maybe there's never an end point, I don't know. But it sounds like all of that in terms of the doing and not doing kind of discernment is based on that other thing you mentioned, the deepening of the belief that you have basic self-worth,
Yes,
basic worth and
yes,
value, and
yes,
don't have to act from the lie of unworthiness.
yes, yes,
That there's, it sounds like all of that is kind of, I was picturing kind of a foundation of that on which all the greater discernment and like be allowing whatever is going on for you is like building the scaffolding on top of the
yes,
foundation of I'm gonna strip a lot of this stuff away. God saying, like, I'm gonna strip a lot of this stuff away so that you can really know how precious and beloved you
yes,
are,
yes,
first and foremost. And then from there, I'll help you discern and I'll help you cope and I'll
yes.
help you.
We're gonna build from a really sound place.
Yeah. But is that right?
Yes,
Did I
it's
get that? Okay.
absolutely right. Like
Awesome.
last year, the word that God gave me for 2022 was sacred. And
Hmm.
so he put me in situations where I recognize like not just the sacredness in like the good things, but the sacredness, the holiness in the challenges. That was like what? So,
Yeah.
but going through that last year really helped. It created a sacred ground, a foundation for this year. The word he gave for me is light.
Read that. I was so happy. I didn't post because I didn't want to take away from your post, but or just distract from what you were saying. But that was my word last year, and the same
Oh
things like
wow.
light, like enlightenment, light, and also light, like lightness. It was
Yes,
like, oh, Jen, we're soulmates.
yes, yes. I really it just feels like that exactly. That's what God gave me in my spirit too, is this lightness of and I posted something today about like I recognize that this pattern, again, it's passed down pattern of the heaviness and the burden. Why I would do that is because it made me actually feel safe. The
Oh, I
heavier I
didn't see that
felt,
one yet. Hmm.
yeah, I posted it today.
Okay, good.
The heavier I felt in my body, it was like I felt in a way grounded in my body, but it was from a place of heaviness and burden. And what God is showing me is like, you actually don't need the heaviness to protect you. Like, if you can like allow yourself to let that go and then trust that in the lightness, when you let that go, you have more space to create, to allow yourself to receive more light ease, but also love. And that's like another deeper part of it is like, how can you love yourself more? how can you love others more? Not because you want something from them, not because you even want something from yourself, because that's a big one too. I would be so passionate about myself and what I do, but it was kind of from a place of ego because I really low key wanted, I was giving myself that love and attention because I needed a result. So it's like,
Oh,
okay, we're gonna do all this stuff, but low key, you have to like succeed at this goal. And then
right.
when I didn't succeed at that goal, then I feel shame. Then I go in the shame cycle, this guilt, and it's like,
Back to the unworthy foundation.
right,
Yeah.
right. So I'm like,
Mhm.
this is not sustainable. So then, you know what I mean? It's like, how can I all along the way love myself, encourage myself, regardless of whatever is going to come out as the result? How can I give that to myself unconditionally, little by
I was
little?
just gonna say unconditional love. Yeah.
Yeah, little by
Mhm.
little, and then whatever comes out, that's actually God's part. That's where He multiplies your effort, right? But
Mm.
it's more about between you and you. It's like, how can that love between you and you be very pure, be very loving, be very supportive, encouraging for
Mhm.
you, for the sheer fact that you deserve it, not
Mm.
because it's gonna yield a result, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that sounds like it's been increasing in that way
Yes,
of loving yourself. It sounds like it's been a great contributor to your peace of mind as well.
yes.
Like you don't have to get in that cycle. There is no cycle. Shame and,
Yeah.
perform and then shame and then whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, but I felt like I needed that in order to move me forward. It was
Mm.
like an addiction in a way. It's like, okay, I'm gonna push, adrenaline, gonna go do the most. And
Yeah.
then if it doesn't turn out the way I needed or wanted, then it's like, oh, then I shame, heavy, heavy, heavy.
Yeah.
And then I just wait it out and then push. It's like, God,
Yeah.
I'm getting off that train. That's too hard.
Yeah. And it's unfamiliar territory, right? So you have to feel your way into the new, like you said, little
Oh,
by
yes,
little, into
yes.
the new way of
Yes,
doing all that. Yeah.
it's not easy as like, "Oh, yeah, well, let's make things easier." Actually, I recognize I needed things to be hard for me to feel like I had a level of control. If things are
Mm.
heavy, things are hard, then I feel like, "Okay, I'm pushing forward." But like what God is saying, it's like, that's actually not that's what you needed in the past, but that was never my intention for how I created you to be, like, for you
Mm.
to exist. It's not to be like this burdened, heavy, oppressed um, being on earth. No,
Yeah.
that's you went through that so you could identify that for you, so you could heal yourself, but also that then you can deepen that connection with others who are on a similar path. Because if
Right.
I didn't go through all that stuff, Vicky, there's no way I could have a conversation like this with you. No
No.
way, you
Yeah.
know?
Right, exactly. And it'll come across with the people you end up working with going forward because it has that depth to it, you know,
Yes,
as well.
yes,
So let me ask you this. So you've obviously, all of the things you're describing are you've done a lot in this vein already. Um, and so I guess I want to ask you, are there, like, what do you see as your path forward with this? Like, if you could have your, I don't want to say ideal, or maybe I'll say optimal, optimal balance of like that self-care and self-fulfilling and caring for others. What do you think that would look like, and what do you think you is still on the docket for you in terms of all of this?
right. Well, I've been like praying to God, like, what is it you want me to do? How do you want me to serve? Because I know that this season of my life with caring for my mom, to me, it's the most sacred thing I've ever done. So I don't
Mhm,
take it for granted. And I
mhm.
also know it's preparing me for whatever's to come, right?
Right, right.
But I always pray, like, God, what is it you want me to do? Because it was over a decade ago, 10 years. He put it in my spirit, like, spirit of style, like,
Yeah.
that acronym, spiritually translating your life's essence. And every time I say it to myself or say it out loud, I get goosebumps. So I know God's saying, like, just wait, it's coming. But I'll be honest, ever since the pandemic, I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because I know it gives me the most life, but God, what is it you want me to do? And what he's been telling me is just be patient. Just
Mhm.
whatever I'm giving you in each day, just know that that's preparing you, you know? But
Mm.
in the meantime, still keep doing these shoots, keep taking photos, keep looking for things that give you joy. Keep doing that. Keep filling your cup, and at the right time I will show you. But the
Mhm.
fact that my
Like
work,
keep embodying your spirit of style in the
yes, yes,
meantime.
yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Keep
Mhm.
embodying your essence. Keep
Yeah.
demonstrating what it is to be that, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And so when I do these photo shoots, when Des takes these photos and I'm wearing things that give me life, and it's like, okay, I just feel there's something about that experience where I feel like it's almost like I go from my regular day-to-day me, and then when it's time to shoot, it's like I wake up into like my higher self, like, let's go, you know? It's there's like a level of freedom and aliveness. I
Mhm.
can't, it's hard to describe.
Oh,
So
you're describing it beautifully in my view.
yeah, so and then I share the photos and then I share them just for my own joy. However, but I also want to, my deepest intention has always been like, as a introvert, as an empath, as a highly sensitive, I feel like I've always run into this stereotype like, oh, you're quiet, oh, you're sensitive, like somehow that's weak. Like
Mm.
you're just like, go off to the corner, go hide, you know? And it's like, I know that yes, I have that reserved side. I have that quiet side, that introspective. I like to reflect, observe, but I also have a power. I
Yeah.
also have a radiance, a fierceness. And I just feel like God built me in this way to show a different way. Like you can be quiet and you can be fierce. And
Mhm.
somehow I feel like God is like building up this like leadership in me to serve in some capacity. I don't even know, to be honest. Like how
Mhm.
I've been in my business, I've been asking God, like, I've had ideas of do this, but the only thing that feels like within my capacity right now is one on one. Like,
Mm.
really, just because intimacy is very important to me. So, one
Mhm.
on one with one person, going very deep, feels within my capacity given my life circumstance.
Yeah, yeah,
You
that
know?
makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
the amount of energy and time you have for business activities,
yes,
that's right now,
right
that's
now.
how you wanna spend it. Mhm.
Yeah, I just feel like because there's something about when I can go deep with another person and I can see and feel their spirit, and they feel safe to be seen, feel safe to be felt in that way. I just feel like I'm doing my job. You
Mhm.
know, like there's some, because from that point, if you can establish that for yourself and you know you have someone in your corner, you really unlock something like I can do it. And that's
Mhm.
all you need. It's like if yes, I'm gonna try to do goals that maybe I've never done before. But if you have that foundation, it's like I can do it. Then you can really see what you're made of, right?
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
really what's been on my capacity right now. Or I'm open to the idea of like doing small groups, you know.
Mm.
But again, intimacy is a big thing for me because I've
Yeah,
imagined myself like, okay, well, what if I had 100 people, 200 people? Where I am right now, that feels beyond my capacity.
yeah, that's not for this season. Yeah.
No, that feels like beyond, not saying it's not possible, but for me, for where I can see right now, that
Mhm.
doesn't feel that doesn't feel in alignment, doesn't have any like heart resonance. What has heart
Mhm.
resonance for me is for me to be connected with my own spirit, my heart, my
Mhm.
soul, and then serve in ways where that whoever I'm meant to serve is meant to receive that type of support and not
Yeah.
be afraid, not be afraid to be seen. Because I think that's another thing. It's like it takes courage to allow yourself to be that vulnerable,
Mhm.
you know?
And you're role modeling that. I mean, you always have been since I've known you, but it feels like you in these new awarenesses and this new learning and healing, you're role modeling that even more for the people who are coming down the pike to be those one-on-one
Right.
collab, what do you call co-creators.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
awesome. So what I think is also really neat, and hope you heard it too, is that when I asked you about, what besides what you've already learned and done and are doing, what more is it that maybe is needed for your optimal? And if as I consider everything you just said, that you didn't say anything more or new or different than you're already doing. Like you
I
didn't say, which is great because that means you're already doing all the things that
yeah,
you need to be doing for your self-care, and you're just going to keep doing those. You
yeah,
didn't say, oh, I'm doing this. Like a lot of the women I speak to with and ask a question along those lines, they'll say, well, I'm doing, they've already said I'm doing this, this, and this, whatever. And they say, but what I really want to be doing is X, Y, and Z. And they're not doing it and haven't figured out how to fit it in their life or whatever. But you didn't say anything additional. You basically kind of alluded to all the things you're already doing.
yeah.
And basically it's like more of this. This is what I'm doing to optimize is I'll just do more of what I'm already doing. And how cool is that? Because that means you've already hit upon the things that are helpful for
Yeah.
your own self filling the well.
Gosh, thank you so much for reflecting that to me. You're the second person this week that said that to me. That said,
Oh,
you're already doing it. You're already doing it. I'm like, and to my ego, it's like, yeah, but am I? Or is that enough? But my spirit is like, thank you for seeing me. Thank you for recognizing that I am doing it. It's just your
yeah.
mind, your ego's like, it's not enough.
Well,
You
it's
don't
an
have, you don't
old story that
get
says there always has to be something more.
more. Yes,
Pushing, pushing,
yes,
right?
yes,
I'm used to the adrenaline, ego says. I'm
right,
used to pushing mode.
yes.
But how I think you may be the first person I've spoken to, I don't know, 10, 12 people yet already, um, who didn't say several additional things that they wish they could be doing, but they haven't been able to make happen. So how cool is that? So yay,
You,
Jen.
yeah. Thank you for
um,
reflecting it to me. That means a lot.
yeah, awesome. Um, so let me ask you, I think I just have a couple more questions, like formal questions, whatever, if you want to call them that. Um, what does personal peace, or even the word peaceability, like the ability to bring peace into your life, what do either or both of those words mean to you?
When I think of the word peace, what resonates with me now is just being in harmony with God and myself, like being at peace with where I am now. I think that's really a big thing for me. It's like I'm so used to either living in the past or the future, but to be okay, to be even appreciative of where I am now, even if I don't see a result, even if I don't know where I'm going. It's like, what is showing up in my life right now? There's a deep level of trust that um, it's a critical piece on my path. It is, even though I don't understand. Um, so that's helped me to feel more at ease in my spirit, in my body, even just the process. Like, okay, God hasn't forgot about me.
Mm,
It's like, because regardless of, sure, I would like to experience different things. I'd like to travel. I'd like to like do all these things, but I want all these big worldly things while I feel whole. I
yes.
don't want all the worldly things and still feel empty. I don't
Yeah.
want that. I actually know what that's like. So
Yeah.
what I want is I want to be wildly rich and impactful and um, help lead other leaders, right? Other quiet and fierce leaders. I would love that. And I want to feel full. I want to feel whole. I want to genuinely feel like what it's like that giving from my overflow feels my new normal.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
becoming more normal, but it's
Yeah.
not like, oh yeah, this is easy. No, it's like I have to be mindful every day. Like when I get in a spiral of like, okay, I have to honor like my humanity. I'm not a robot. I used to think I was a robot to try to survive, but now it's like, okay, I see, I feel negative today. I feel insecure. I feel even worthless today. Okay, well, how can I love myself through it? That's what I ask myself. How can I love myself through this, even
Mhm.
though I don't know how? Then I pray and I ask for God to show me how. But it's like the small things. I just feel like having peace within myself, I recognize that's the only way to like live fully. Otherwise, you're just constantly fighting yourself. For what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's some of the skills of peaceability for you are that, like, being aware and allowing how you actually are feeling, and then enlisting God's help, and also asking that powerful question, how can I love myself through this?
Yeah, and it creates more space in my being, in my spirit to actually do what I feel I'm called to do. You know what I mean? I'm not using my energy to fight myself. And I feel like
Exactly.
because I did that for so long, I didn't have space to do things I didn't think I was capable of because I thought I needed proof. Prove it to me, or I've done it in the past. But now I'm like, okay, so I have to have a sense of peace and safety to trust that in the unknown, even though I haven't done something before, if it's being presented to me, that means God is making a way for me
Mm,
to receive it in my spirit, in the circumstance. Like if a door is being unlocked for me and it feels aligned, well,
mhm.
I have to be brave enough to walk through it and trust that what I meant to unlock within me, what is meant to unlock in the circumstance will happen. You know,
Mhm.
it's not, I can't, I was telling my friend the other day, I was like, I'm tired of micromanaging God
Mhm.
because I'd be like, oh, I have to do this. I try to look for patterns. Like if I do this, similar to what I did that before, then I'll have this similar outcome. And
Yeah.
that's what caused the pressure. I'm like, why am I doing that? That's based on this belief that who I am in my essence is not enough.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I need to little by little let that go and see how that's going to unfold, because trying to predict things and try to hold on to a template or a formula, it's
Mhm.
not authentic and it's not sustainable.
Yeah, right. And it's also a way of wanting to gain ground or have safety by control, by being in
Yes,
control. Like,
right.
if I
That's
can figure out the steps of the template, I'll be in control,
right.
which is, like what you were saying about micromanaging God,
Right.
right? Like,
Mm,
instead of saying, so part of personal peace is really making peace with the unknown as well.
yes, that's a big part of it. That's
Yeah.
life. It's like you're constantly evolving and expanding. And of
Mm-hmm.
course you have to have a level of uncertainty and unknown. It's like a pure level of pure potential that you have to play in order for you to see what you're made of. But
Mm-hmm.
again, you're not entering the unknown into a dark abyss without any help. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
whatever you believe in, God, universe, angels, whatever, is like there is a greater force guiding you. I mean, God didn't just drop us here and be like, good luck.
Yeah,
You know, it's
exactly.
like here, we
Right.
came here like forgetting who we are, and then little by little, God, we're like remembering, like, oh, okay, I remember
Mhm.
who I am. Oh, okay, the situation is helping me remember. And that's where I feel like we can move out of this um, thing that society tries to make us feel like a victim. Like,
Mhm.
oh, why is all this thing happening to me? I really believe, and this is what I've learned in my life, everything that happens in your life, it is placed in your life for you to receive something, either
Mhm.
right now or to heal something from the past or in preparation for the future. There's
Right.
nothing that's happening is to punish you. Even though
Mhm.
that's how it felt for me.
Yeah.
I always felt like, oh, if I did something wrong, if I make a mistake, I'm going to be punished. That's why I would try to be perfect. Now
Right.
I'm like, well, I have to honor that I am human, honor my humanity, and then
Yeah.
allow myself to like live, like really live, not from a template, but like how I just really feel in the moment, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And as you were talking, I was thinking, and you mentioned this earlier, but I'm reminded of it, of how perfectly the caregiving role is doing that. The
Yes.
thing that's been put in your life, and for a particular amount of time. Like,
Yeah.
God knows exactly how much time is needed for you to be in this role, even
Yes.
though you don't and I don't.
Right.
And so, like you just said, even, I mean, this role and what it's allowing you to learn and let go of and grow in and all of that, it's like perfectly timed and formulated.
It is. It really is, because when I go and because I have a different like routine to take care of my mom, and I think about this a lot. Like I am actually perfectly suited for this, even though I've never done it before.
Mhm.
Just how meticulous and how thoughtful and how patient, how naturally built. to take care of my mom. And me and my mom are similar. So I understand what she's thinking and even feeling, because she's more sensitive than me. So
Mm,
I've really had to learn to deepen my ability to be even more empathetic,
mhm,
more patient, more.
mhm,
So it's like, it's really miraculous. I just know God's like saying like, I have the capacity. I
mhm.
really do. So
Yeah, and I also heard that God's also saying, so he's saying, you're perfectly suited for this and all of that. And I feel like he's saying, and here are these precious gifts I'm going to give
yes,
you
yes,
during it.
yes,
Those midnight
yes,
insights, the slowing down and letting go of the need to do
yes,
all this other stuff to fill up. Oh, here's the gifts that I'm giving you specifically
yes,
as a result of this. I mean, it's just a beautiful and
yes.
powerful example of what you're describing. Um, and and I would also say that, and tell me what you think of this. I was thinking of that word co-creator, like you were saying with clients or whoever, or your mother in this case. I feel like there is I mean, how do I want to say this? You had to be willing to receive
Oh, yes.
the assignment
Yes,
and gifts.
yes,
Because if you were thrashing around at night when you wake up with your mom and whatever and go back to bed and can't go to sleep, and you were thrashing around all the time, being really upset, you
yes.
wouldn't have, it would be too much
Oh, no,
static and you wouldn't have any
no,
ability to hear the still small voice.
no.
So I'm really feeling a sense of like, it's, yes, God is amazing, and we can't say enough about that, but you had to be willing.
Yes,
He
yes,
doesn't push it on you, right?
no,
You had to be willing. You had to say, yes, I'm here for it.
yes,
Yeah, I'm not just here for the assignment. I gotta care about my mother. I'm here for the whole
yes,
thing. Everything you have for me, including these gifts that are really fucking hard at times, but I'm getting them.
yes, yes.
The gifts are hard to take in sometimes.
Yeah, what helped me receive it is my love for my mom. I'll do anything. It's like,
Mhm,
I don't know what, like, from day one, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like,
mhm.
well, just gotta figure it out.
Well,
Like
that's
my
the assignment part, but
yeah.
I'm saying you had to be willing to get the gifts too, because you could
Oh
have
yeah.
fought against it inside yourself. You could have done all the beautiful things, but you could have fought against receiving the gifts that are for your healing.
Yeah, well, I did in the beginning. It was
Mhm.
it was through pure exhaustion and my love for my mom that I surrendered. That I
Oh,
surrendered in those late nights where I'm like, 'cause I
yeah,
remember in the beginning, I was because I don't have kids, but I can imagine, and now I can kind of relate, like if I having kids and
yeah.
like not having rest and stuff. So when I was in those late nights and I started to hear God even more clearly, I was like, what is happening? What? Because I would hear God before, but this is different. This is a
Yeah.
whole different
Yes,
level.
I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, "What?" But I wouldn't fight it because I was physically exhausted, and I know that that's part of it. God was like, "I have to do this. I know, don't
You're not gonna
you're not gonna like
co-create with me unless I
yeah, you're not yes, you're not gonna like it, but for me to help you to stop fighting me, you have to be so physically and emotionally exhausted to
Yeah.
hear me clearly." And so literally, I was like, "Okay." Because
Mhm,
I just didn't have anything. I'm like, "Okay." And so
mhm.
again, but it kept building, and a level of trust was being built, and
Yeah.
that sacred time between, I'd say, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., it was just like, I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I
Mhm,
just receive it, and again, it's changed my relationship with myself, my relationship to my mom, my
mhm.
brother, Des, my business, everything. Because I'm just like, yeah, I shit doesn't bother me the same way.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't. Like,
Yeah.
sure, things do bother me, but not the same way. No,
Mhm. And maybe not a lot of the same things.
no. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I have
Mhm.
a level of, I can be really neutral and discern, like, I'm not, I'll say this, I'm less reactive and I'm very discerning of like how I choose to respond. I will pause. I'm like, let me think about how I want to respond. I may or may not respond, but I'm not going to be like, oh, like I feel triggered. And then I go, ah, it's
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah,
no, because I recognize my energy is so precious. And I'm like, no, I'm going to pause. And I want to think about this, maybe sleep overnight, and I
mm,
will decide. Whereas
yeah,
before, I'd be like, ah, you know?
yeah. I feel like that doesn't that also partly come from this increase in that self-worth?
Yes,
The word
yes,
like that not getting as triggered as easily can come
yes.
from a basic sense of your essential worth and value is not being threatened here.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a perfect way of saying it. It's like, yeah, why do I feel triggered now? Is it worth expending my time and energy for what? To prove what?
yeah.
And I
And
find
there's nothing.
it
Yeah.
doesn't. And I find that when I do come back and say respond to someone who maybe triggered me, but I say it from a place of like being neutral and calm and peaceful and loving, oh, that person receives it way, way more better than if I were to have reacted the day before.
Yes, another gift.
Right.
Amazing, amazing. So let me ask you one more question, and some of it's implied in what we've already said, and I know you think about this a lot in terms of your own who and how you want to serve, but thinking about these topics of like over giving and over responsibility and you know self neglect and all of that, the imbalance there that a lot of women have. Um, what what would you like to see, like, in the world, to help women with that you don't see enough of?
Yeah. What has helped me, and I'd love for other women to um, see this as deeply important and sacred, is to ask themselves, what is it that I want? What is it that I want to actually do? Not to automatically go, oh, I have to do this. Like, not to automatically be the caregiver, automatically be the responsible one, automatically be the people pleasing good girl. Like,
Mhm.
stop. What is it that I genuinely want to say yes to? And what is it that I genuinely want to say no to? And to like cut these energetic cords of obligation.
Yeah,
Obligation
yeah.
is the worst.
Mhm.
Yes, there are things that we need to do to keep living and to keep supporting ourselves, our families. I get it. But the heaviness, the burden of obligation, no.
Mhm.
I feel like women, we need to like stop that and trust that I have the clarity, the discernment, the wherewithal to decide what I need and want for myself. Not just what I need, what I genuinely desire for myself. Like, what do I want to do? And I don't need to explain that to someone. Like, to
Mhm.
really make decisions based on I want to do this, I would love to do this, I desire to do this, because I genuinely just want to feel good. And that's
Mhm.
good enough. I don't have to explain it. I don't have to do anything. Because I want it, I desire it. That's enough. Instead of, hey, do you think this is okay? Do you think this is okay?
Right.
Do you think it's okay? And
Mhm.
let that be enough, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, and I love that. Thank you so much for saying that. And I've heard, versions of that theme along the way with these calls, and and I think you were kind of speaking to both parts of this. Um, the part of giving oneself permission to ask that question and really answer
Yes,
it,
honestly,
that it can be, but that can be the powerful and empowering question. And what I've also been hearing is so many women are saying, and it breaks my heart, honestly, and I'm sure it breaks yours too. I don't even know anymore. I'm
right,
so used to the defaulting to what is he or she or they or whatever
right,
want, that I literally don't
right,
know how to answer it. So I feel like what I am called to do is help with both parts of that. Like, there's the I can connect with it, but I can't give myself permission to do it or allow it or answer it or know it. And then there's the ones who are even like more at sea of, or like, I don't even know. I can ask myself the question and I come up with no answer. and I need to connect in order to be able to answer it. I feel like you were kind of speaking to both parts of that in what you said, but do you agree that kind of both can be an issue for some women or many
Yes.
women?
Yeah, I just feel like giving yourself permission to want what you want. I just don't feel like we're not taught that. We're taught to be the nurturer. We're taught to
Right.
be the caregiver, the patient one, the good girl,
Mhm.
the one who creates the peacemaker. I just feel like the peacemaker is like, I have to, like, to really redefine what that is. Like,
Yeah.
do I have to be the one sacrificing my own needs to keep the peace of everyone else, but I don't have peace? No.
Yeah, we
Can
gotta
I?
change the paradigm that we can all have it.
Yes,
There's a
we are
way
all.
to have us all to have
Yes,
it.
yes, and
Yeah,
then you actually hold other people accountable to do their part instead of you being the one that's over giving, overdoing to compensate for what other people are not doing. Because
exactly.
then you're not allowing them to actually step into like their own power and into their own like things that they have to look at too to take back like what is theirs for them to
Mm,
tend to.
exactly, exactly. I love that. Thank you so much for saying that.